Hello and welcome to Upstream at AKS, the series where we dive into how we're building cloud-native experiences in the open source community. Thanks for being here. My name is Lachie Evenson, and I'm a product manager on Azure's cloud-native ecosystem team, where our mission is to help make the community successful on their cloud-native journeys. We have an awesome team that you'll find in almost every part of this ecosystem. And today, I'm happy to introduce my colleague, Morgan, who is a member of our Upstream team. Welcome, Morgan. It's great to have you here.
Hi, Lachie. Thanks, Sam. I'm glad to be here. I'm a product manager, like you said, for the cloud native ecosystem. I work on upstream infrastructure. In our corner of the world, we're basically trying to make sure that Kubernetes works well on Azure. And so that can span a lot of things, but it's really interesting and fun. I've been here for like a year, and so I've been trying to figure out the inner workings of Kubernetes, which is hard, but exciting because you never get bored. There's always something to learn about. So thank you.
That's excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Morgan. And I want to dig into plenty of what you just said. I think it's really interesting to say, you know, you've been in Kubernetes upstream in the infrastructure piece, which is kind of the engine room of Kubernetes, not necessarily easy in that space, kind of complicated, and kind of 10 to 15 years of history now that you get to step into. And just being here a year, I guess my first question is like, how did you end up at this point, and how did you end up a year into this journey?
My journey with Microsoft is actually kind of funny. I knew I wanted to be in product management for a while, but I was trying to figure out where I wanted to land in product management. I had done financial supply chain, I'd done design product, but I hadn't really done technical. It's like Microsoft has a lot of different products I'd love to work on. So I applied for an internship and bombed the interview. Like
Oh no.
The first one, you know, they normally call to do like the recruiter interview, make sure that you're a decent person. And then you have a second round, and then you have a super day. And my second round, I ended up having a meeting that conflicted it. And so I emailed them, was like, hey, I have a conflict, I'm not gonna be able to make it. And they called, and I was looking at my phone like, this is gonna be an L, because I can't answer this.
Yeah, oh no.
And then getting an email where they were like, you made it to the super day, come to interviews. I'm not gonna ask any questions, I'm just going to show up. And I remember someone asking me a question about how I would design a transporter. And so like, if people wanted to transport from one place to another, who I would market it to, how I would make it accessible. I had no idea how to answer it. But I think what got me here is after my interview, I thought about it and I ended up following up and like emailing them afterwards. Like, this is how I would have answered the question. These are all the things I thought about. And I really liked the question because it made me really think about it hours after my interview. And then I ended up here, which is really nice. And then I came back after my internship. So if you ever bomb an interview, follow up. Sometimes it works.
I think that's great advice. And, you know, not unsimilar to my own journey. I think, you know, for every job that I've ever got, I've always walked out of the interview feeling like maybe I didn't do the best in that interview because, and probably it's, as you said, like, you know, life's going on and sometimes it doesn't feel like the right time and place for you to be in the headspace to answer that question. But I think one of the things I took away from what you said is when somebody gives you a question that makes you ponder for some amount of time, if you are to follow up and actually follow up on that conversation, I think, you know, as somebody who sits on a lot of interviews now, it's kind of like they took the time to actually write back and think about that. So I think that's a really like great piece of advice that you actually followed up and cared to think about it. Now I'm thinking about transporters because, you know, being able to get to Australia like in a moment's notice, hey, I definitely want to get on that thing. That would be nice. Okay, so, and I think one of the other things you touched upon that's kind of interesting because not dissimilar to my own journey, like product management's kind of a newer field in kind of an engineering field, right? So I actually did computer science at college and there wasn't, you know, you couldn't do a product management degree at the university I went to, and I'm sure that's still the case. But, you know, what was it that actually got you interested in product management specifically? You said there are a few places you worked in the past where you did those things, but what was it about product management? I think that's interesting too.
I went to Spelman, and originally when I got to Spelman, I applied as a math major, and I had
Okay.
finished a lot of my math classes in high school. So it got to a point where my advisor was like, you have like 2 classes left before you finish. Do you know what you want to do with your degree? Absolutely not. No. Um, I just came to finish. I wasn't really thinking about after just yet. And she told me I should join the engineering program. I said, okay, cool. Sounds interesting. I can learn some more, prolong my time here because I really enjoyed it at Spelman. And I took the intro to engineering course, and it was a project-based class. In my project, we were building a below-the-knee prosthetic. And I realized I wasn't necessarily interested in like biomedical engineering. I guess that's what we're doing. But I was really intrigued by the customer discovery, doing market research, trying to figure out which area that we wanted to optimize, what the pain points were, following up with people after we had made it. Like, what do you think about this? What do you want us to change about it? And so I did a really deep Google search trying to figure out what career aligned with the parts that I found interesting. And we found product management. And so then I was like, okay, cool. And then that's when I was like, I need to figure out the area that I like it in though, because it could apply to so many different things.
That's, it's so interesting that those skills, because as you're describing them, that's the same passion that I got, was like, I love creating something that people will want to use or make their life better or change the way that they work or live or whatever the application. I just think that's just a really interesting skill set to be able to identify, take feedback, and then work with a team to deliver that. So sounds like a wonderful project. Now, if I'm to come back, you joined Microsoft internship. We heard about your interview process. I'm glad it all worked out in the end because I get to work with you, which is fantastic for me. And you're in Kubernetes now. And I think one of the things that's super interesting to me is you go to these massive KubeCons. And, I had the opportunity to work with you. I know you went to Salt Lake City because I was there last year and that was your first one. And we're going into Atlanta now, the second one that you're able to attend. I got in really early in the Kubernetes story, at least the open source version of it. And I'm always thinking about how can we make that community and that massive ecosystem more approachable to, folks that are trying to get in, because I think the next generation of leaders in the community are folks like yourself coming into this community, and we've got to do a really good job of making you feel welcome, getting plugged in and connected. So I think, that's a lot. I think the question really is like, how was your first experience going into, Salt Lake City or entering the Kubernetes community, and what was surprising, interesting, and what did you learn that was unexpected?
Yeah, okay. So I think your question has a couple different parts, really.
Yeah, I think so. You could talk for some time on this. I'll let you speak.
No, you're good. I think, well, originally with my experience with Kubernetes in general, I had never heard the word Kubernetes before I started here. And so it really was a whole new world for me. And having a job in an area that you've never heard of adds another level of, I know I need to learn this thing, but then you kind of get like, maybe I need to learn it faster than I would have because I need to be able to do my job, and to do it, I need to understand this thing, which can be a lot of pressure. Thankfully, the environment that we're in, everyone is so nice. And everyone's also understanding that the monster that Kubernetes is a lot to try to understand, especially if you're brand new. And so it was a lot of asking a lot of questions of people on my team, the devs that I work with. And thankfully, with us being an open source, we work with a lot of people that don't even work here. So then you can ask other people as well. Like, you have such a vast amount of resources to learn things. I'm a person that learns more like hands-on and being able to see things. So me starting and then so quickly going to the conference after was really nice because I got to see all the things in motion. Everybody was at one place. I didn't have to like ping someone and hope they saw it and responded. I could just walk up to someone like, hey, I noticed that you went to this talk. Can you explain this thing to me? Because I have no idea what's going on. But I kept having a reoccurring thought while I was there of everybody seems like they've been here for years and I just got here. And so I really wish that I would have had earlier experience to this or like exposure to it. So then I would at least have something to hold on to instead of feeling like I was getting it all at once.
Yeah.
So in between having that thought over and over again, and then people also stopping me every so often as I was walking through the conference, like, hey, it's really nice to see someone that's this young here. Or even like some people are just like, it's really nice to see a Black woman here. It's like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so there's like gaps here as well. Um, and so when I heard that KubeCon was going to be in Atlanta, it's like, if I wish that I would have got it earlier, I'm sure other people would too. In Atlanta, me going to school at Spelman and Georgia Tech, there's plenty of students here. So I was really hoping that we could get students there. And so it was a mission that I tackled for this upcoming year to get more students there. So yeah, I think it's a lot of different chapters so far, but yes, it is asking a lot of questions, relying on the community there, and also opening the door to other people behind you.
Yeah, I mean, that's so profound. And you said you've been in it a year, and I'm not trying to minimize that small amount of time, but comparatively to me being, in 10 years, it's like, you're at the beginning of your journey, and yet, you saw an opportunity there to connect your college life and the school life and the community that you built there in Atlanta with this massive conference, global conference that's attracting people from around the world. I think one of the benefits is, that because it goes to different cities, right, you can connect with different communities that are local and give folks opportunities. So I think it's a really, great opportunity that you're creating there to connect the school life that you had into that. Because as you said, any way you can give folks Kubernetes knowledge before they kind of step out into the workforce is going to be an advantage, given that Kubernetes is in so many places and driving so much innovation in the ecosystem right now. So tell me more about this. I want to know more, because I think that that's really like a really cool opportunity that you just went and, materialized, and now this is going to happen. So I'd love to know more.
Yeah, I think growing up and now being what I call a big kid, because I don't quite feel like an adult yet, I've always wanted to be the person I didn't have growing up. That's a really big thing for me. And being so soon out of college, because I just graduated not too long ago, I think when you're in college, you push so hard for what you think you should be pushing for. So like you have your major and you're like, I really just want to work for Microsoft, or I really just want to work for this one company. And then you get there and you're like, what do I do now? Like, I got my letter, they told me I have a job, and then I got here and they said Kubernetes, and I was like, what is that?
Yeah, how do I even spell that? I'm not sure I even know how to spell it yet.
Like, I worked so hard to get here, and now I feel unprepared. And that's not really the best feeling to have when you know that there's so many bright people, and you would have succeeded a lot more than you would now had someone just told you, like, hey, this is what's kind of going on in the world right now. Did you know this is happening? Even with Kubernetes, it powers so many things. Like for me, one of the things that helped me really understand it was I applied it to Spotify. I love music. So it was like, how would Spotify use Kubernetes on its backend? A lot of people that use Spotify wouldn't know that you could apply it that way. And so with us, like I said, coming to Atlanta, it's like, I know so many people at these schools. If we could get them here, then they can get the head start that I keep wishing that I had. And so then they also make these connections and can talk to people, figure out what they do like, what area they want to start participating in, and then they're in a better situation than I was when I started. So yeah, I went, spoke to some people. It's like, hey, you're going to be in Atlanta with like really 4 big schools. How do we get these kids here? And so after having a couple conversations, they're like, okay, cool, come up with a student program. And at first that felt kind of daunting, because it's like, there's this huge foundation asking me to do this thing.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I'm learning myself, and you want me to be the shepherd to these other students that I would like to be here. But it's been really rewarding so far, because it's like having the opportunity to create the student program. I got to use my experience last year for me being my first Kubernetes. Like, what did I wish I had? What could I do if I was a student? What would I really want to do? So I wanted to push for it to be more than just a ticket, because it's so easy to also be swallowed in the conference, especially if you don't know what's going on. I don't want to show up and then try to pick a talk, and now I'm sitting there like, I know they're speaking English, but it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, I know exactly. Hey, yeah, I think you put that eloquently. Yeah.
Yeah. So I helped them get a ticket. They can get a voucher for a certification for Kubernetes and Cloud Native Associate certification. There's mentoring sessions, there's networking sessions, and then obviously with them being my alma mater, I know a couple of them, so it's like they have a friendly face, so they're not all that overwhelmed. Like, I have a question, and it's like I may not know that question, but I'm sure I can point you to someone that knows the answer. And so I'm really excited to see how it turns out.
Yeah, just in hearing that whole, how it came about, the creativeness you put towards that solution, I'm really excited about seeing how it turns out too. And, you know, even if I was to transport myself using your transporter back into my younger version myself, I think it's so crucial. Those, you know, those early moments can, you know, to in essence make or break you in terms of like, do you feel welcome? Do you want to come back?
Yeah.
And if you don't really be intentional about creating an opportunity for the people to have good experiences, I think, you know, not because there's any bad intent, but it's more than likely they're not going to, just by the sheer size. And yeah, I think giving them, you know, not, as you said, a friendly face and not just a ticket, a kind of a curated experience, because I still get today like, hey, KubeCon's this long, what do I do with my time? And people really want, you know, a purpose-built kind of journey map through that event for whatever they're looking to get out of it. And it sounds like you put a lot of thought into, you know, what a student might want to get out of it, and made kind of tactical decisions based on that. But I will say, like, you're so wise to have, you know, this, I guess, this foresight and thinking at this altitude to actually do something about it. Because yeah, I guess that's the thing with open source, the good thing, and I think it's a great life skill, is kind of like you have an idea and people are like, great, you get to do it, right? And it's kind of like with, you know, I'm not qualified, how could I possibly? But then you can sit down and you rely on, you know, people around you and your own creativity to come up with a solution. And 9 times out of 10, you know, the solution that you come up with is great. And honestly, nobody else is putting that time in. So I really, you know, I think that those behaviors that you know, got you to this place are really going to serve you well, and those folks that you're trying to connect with. And, you know, yeah, so I think that's super exciting. And, you know, I want to, like, I guess for any listeners, or I guess twofold, any listeners that are, you know, old timers like me, you know, plenty of gray hairs, been doing this for many years, like, what would you ask of us? Because I would, you know, when you tell me these things, it's like, what can I do to help? Is how I feel. Like, I want to be an active member in helping the next generation of folks feel welcome and supported in their journey. So yeah, what would you ask folks like me or listeners? And then I'm going to ask, you know, similar things on the other side. So I'll let you answer that first.
I think it's 2 things really. I hit on it earlier a little bit, that I was a little worried that they asked me to put the program together. But I think hindsight, it was nice that they asked me, because my background is in math and industrial engineering. I think people that have been in this space for a while, they either come from like electrical engineering, computer science. So if someone then would have been the person to put the program together, then they would only target it to those people that are in computer science or in electrical engineering, when there's a lot of people that have been interested, and there's a lot of other people that could get here and offer something to the community that would be overlooked if they hadn't thought about them. So I think one thing that I would ask other listeners and people that have been in the community is to be more open-minded about who they're inviting into the community. I think sometimes they can gatekeep the community. They want us to come into this space having been in it for 20 years. And I don't really think that's a fair assessment to make, because you're only in this community because it was either learn it or not have a job when it came around. I was 12. I'm sorry, I didn't get that option, you know?
Right.
And then I think my other one would be, everyone is so helpful here, but a lot of the helpful comes from when you ask them a question, it's always, well, it's okay, it's a lot to learn, just go explore. It's like, if you told them to just go explore the world, they would still have a lot more questions. Like, where should I start?
Yeah.
Do I get on a plane? Do I get on a train? Should I drive first? Should I explore the water first? And so that can still be very isolating, which I think is also nice with this program, because it's like they're all new, but they're all new together. Like they have a community that they're coming with together to be new with. And so it would be nice if other people in the community were like, well, hey, there's a lot of other new people here as well that you can come ask questions to. One of the nicest things that happened to me at KubeCon was someone actually told me about the events that were happening for people that were either new or like the diverse talks that were happening that I didn't know about. So introducing me to other communities instead of just saying like, go explore and ask me if you have a question. It'd be nice if they were like, here's a community I'm in. I can come take you, introduce you. Here's 5 other people you can also ask questions to. But
Yeah.
yes, my 2 pieces.
Yeah. I think that's really, really great feedback, because as you said, like getting told to go explore is often not enough to help you get over the next hump, right? Just kind of walking into a, blank room or a room where you have no connections is hard. And I think the other thing is, even myself, you kind of forget that I was poured into by other people, right? If you were to show up, you'd think, how did that person get to this point? And obviously I get to stand on the shoulders of giants, right? And those people were there when I had questions, right? And I was walking around asking those questions. So it's easy to forget when you've been in it for a few years, just how much you've leveraged the knowledge of other people to get where you are. So I think, I would encourage folks who've been in there for a while to think about who helped you get a leg up on the questions and answers, because as you said, people are super relational, right? We don't just go learn how to get through life by reading a book, right? You have to go experience it, and you have to go ask people questions and get things right and make mistakes and all that. That's part of the whole journey, but we often forget that, especially when it's kind of a technical thing. It's just like, it's just a manual you haven't read yet, and that's likely not the answer that's going to be most useful to you. And I think just one other thing, because you and I probably, in my experience working with you, I'm super extroverted, right? I go to those conferences, meeting new people and talking to people who are from different parts of the world, different backgrounds. Like that's super exciting to me, and I get really energized. But I've had to learn, that not everybody feels like that, right? When they walk into a room full of people that they don't know, they're not like, wow, this is an opportunity to meet hundreds of people that I don't know, right? And as you said, and I think this is the really good thing that you said, was you gave kind of an example to somebody like me, as have somebody come alongside you and introduce them, not just say, here's 100 people, just go and say hi. Because for me, that might be something that's not really, doesn't feel challenging for me, but for somebody else, that might be a really big challenge. And, I've often heard Pac-Man, like when you're in a circle, kind of creating a closed ring, like open it up and let more people come in. And, I think those kind of tactical things remind me of how I can be a better, make it be more inclusive for newcomers by giving them opportunity to feel welcome. And it's not like just saying, oh yeah, you're welcome, push, good luck, right? It's more like showing them how you're welcomed. Is equally as important. But I think just kind of to wrap up here, because I think we could talk about this topic for ages, is, for somebody new in the ecosystem and the Kubernetes community coming to KubeCon in Atlanta for the first time, like what advice would you give them, or what would you think they should keep in mind?
I think they should keep in mind that even if someone has been here longer than you, they're equally always learning something. With KubeCon, people are coming to share what they've been working on in the past year. So it's a good chance that other people that are sitting next to you, even though they've been here 15 years, they too don't know if the person speaking is speaking English or not. They're equally as confused. So when you're entering the space, I think you should find something you're interested in already, and then gravitate towards those places, because it makes it easier to digest. AI is a big thing this year. I know a lot of people, at least my age, and like I said, the college students that are coming are really excited about AI and like ChatGPT, because it's an LLM. Find things that are related to those things and go from there.
Yeah, I think that you've done a really good job invigorating me with the, the attitude, the energy, the way that you're approaching being a newcomer to this community. I'm really thankful that we have folks like you coming, because I know that the next generation of where this project's going to go and how it's shaped is going to be up to folks like you. And I really appreciate all the work that you're doing to make it a welcoming and inclusive space where people can actually feel like they can be themselves. Because one of the things I love about a community is everybody's so different background. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you're over there in Atlanta. I grew up in Australia, like in the middle of the desert. Like, how could two of us cross paths were it not for something like Kubernetes? And I think that's a really cool thing about the community, and something that's really makes us strong. And I really love that just, as you said earlier, right, you come from kind of industrial engineering background, math background, right? Which that is a great perspective in this community too, right? Even if it's not the majority on, like, maybe there's more comp sci folks, maybe, right? I don't know that that's true, but your perspective, given math math and industrial engineering, is equally as valued in this community. So I just want to finish by saying, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up? Because I feel like we can keep digging here. It's such a great topic. And thank you for being here. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you for inviting me. Like you said, I had a really great time. We had a really nice chat. Also want to thank you. I mean, you were really helpful and nice when I first got here. You let me just show up as myself. I didn't feel like I needed to censor it and like pretend to be someone else. And I could just meet you where I was at. And that was really nice, especially in my journey being new. So thank you, actually.
Well, that means a lot. And, I always want my legacy to be what other people say, hey, did Lachie show up and actually help people, right, in this community? Because I want to pay it forward, right? People help me. And I think, the best way I can give back is to help others. So humbled to hear that. But honestly, I feel like all the thanks be to you, because you're coming here and stepping out, right? Coming out of college and taking on this brave behemoth of a community that needs folks like yourself bringing the energy in. And it gives me excitement about the future of the project. So with that, I will say thank you so much, Morgan. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us today. All the relevant links will be in the show notes. For the folks listening in, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to let us know what you really enjoyed about this topic and what topics you'd like to hear in the future. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.